Okay, I think we're ready. This is a bit of an impromptu stream here, and what I wanted to do today was yesterday at I believe 6:30 a.m. my time, Joe Prusa in the official MK2 group announced that they released the first official edition of the Prusa Slicer slicing program, and I just wanted to take a few minutes here and take a look at what they did, go over some of the change logs, show you guys where it's at, where you can get your copy of it, and all that stuff. And I'm going to actually install it for myself here and take a look because I'm loosely familiar with the original version that shipped with the machine because that's what I used for a little while. But let's take a look at it here. As you can see, like I found out about this on Facebook of all places. Joe Prusa himself made a post about the first official Prusa edition of Slicer. And if you click this link here, it brings us to prusaprinters.org, which is kind of odd. It's not on their actual site yet, but I didn't actually look at this. I have the pages pulled up, but let's just go over what they claim is different in this version because I know they added some interface elements and stuff like that. And I remember seeing some of these pictures where they apparently fixed some surface finish issues that was cropping up in some STL files and not creating top layers and some other various stuff. Hey guys, I see there's some people streaming in chat here, making their way in. But yeah, we're just taking a look at the official Prusa edition of Slicer today, and we're gonna check it out. So looking at this page here, I know they've been talking about this for a while, so it's cool we finally have like the 1.0 of the official Prusa edition. So the main improvements we did in this big release were infill, surface, supports, and user interface. I don't imagine that they addressed my biggest complaint about supports in Slicer, and that's that you can't actually modify them. You can obviously change settings and stuff, but you can't. In all the editions I've used so far, like if you want supports on one part of a print and not another, you really can't do that. I mean, I might be wrong, but I doubt they did that. Yeah, hey guys in chat. We can't always see your stream or not. Yeah, Joe, if you haven't noticed, I haven't been around a lot lately. I've been trying to record some videos and stuff, but I've been a little pressed for time with the holidays coming, watching my daughter and all that stuff. So, but anyway, I know in the last update they added the triangular infill, and it looks like they added a cubic infill now, which I guess that's what that is. I can't really honestly tell. That looks like a three-dimensional triangle infill. I guess that's what it is. New magical option appears in the new Prusa Slicer edition that will ensure wall thickness. It solves one of the biggest issues of the original Slicer, having holes between perimeters on a slanted surface. I did run into that personally myself. I did have that issue on several prints. So they apparently fixed that. And I've seen this image before. This is apparently what they fixed. And as you can see in the image, that is a significant difference. Like, that is really ugly, and that looks really nice. So, if they fixed that problem, that's really cool. Here's the section about supports. Even they acknowledge Slicer wasn't the best, to say the least. But apparently they tweaked it. I guess this is Joe that wrote this. I don't know this for a fact. But he said that I would personally say we are at roughly 90% of the Simplify 3D success rate and work great. They still say they're a bit slow. I actually have a fast computer. I never really had to wait all that long for Slicer to actually slice the files, so I guess some of you guys might be on slower computers. That might have been an issue, but I never had to wait more than maybe 15 or 20 seconds. I mean, to be fair, Simplify 3D is nearly instant. Even some larger files, it's almost immediate. But they don't really say what they did to fix supports. I know I had a lot of issues with supports in Slicer. There were a couple files, if you remember the cable chain video I did, the piece that goes on the back corner of the heat bed, I had a ton of problems with the supports in Slicer, and actually had somebody, I didn't have Simplify at that time, and I had someone slice that in Simplify for me, and it made a pretty big difference. But it doesn't say exactly what they did here. I guess it's just tweaking settings. User interface. Oh, they added sliders in the G-code preview, similar to Simplify. I guess this allows you to basically simulate going up and down in the slice, so you can see the individual layers to see potential problems with like the tool, the pathing and stuff. Which again is handy. Handy. Not a big deal, but nice to have. Another great addition is the Slice Now button, so you can generate the model without saving it. Background processing will be turned off from now on, as it makes the Slicer user interface laggy. And I guess that's it. Oh, and then a little teaser for Prusa Control. This is, I guess, eventually going to replace this whole development tree of Slicer. As you can see here, it's going to be kind of their own little native development environment for slicing and stuff. I honestly haven't read much about it. Some of you guys might know more about that. Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Someone mentioned that the GitHub changelog will be a little more verbose. Yeah, if you see, I already have it here ready to go. We're just kind of going through everything. But that's basically it. Like I said, it's kind of weird. This is on prusaprinters.org. I don't even know what this site is, really. I think, oh yeah, this is where you, yeah, I guess I have been here before. This is where if you do multicolor printing with your MK2, this is the web utility they give you, so you can drop your G-code here and like add layer cues and stuff for the color changes. But here's the official like GitHub page about it. So we'll go over this, and I think this is a little more detailed. I guess there isn't a whole lot here. I guess I was expecting like some profound changes. I guess it's this whole development of this Prusa edition of Slicer has just been like incremental tweaks to make it work better with the MK2. I don't think there's any like profound changes here from some of the other versions of Slicer. Improved speed of the ensure vertical wall thickness feature. Again, I never really had problems with the speed of that, so partial fix of problem number 35. I remember reading that before. That was the one where it was not, I mean, we can click on it, where it was not generating, no top layers. So I don't know if they have any examples here. But basically, you'd slice your print, and it kind of just wouldn't put top layers on it on some files for some reason. So they fixed that. There's some more issue fix that were causing cracks in loaded meshes. Extended the range of the scene rotation. Oh, there was apparently angular limits. And then Prusa research specific. Man, I'm having trouble talking today. I'm sorry. Joe asks when we're giving stuff away. I said I have a ton of stuff to give away when we hit 1,000 subs, and at the rate we're going, I would guess we're going to be there in a week and a half, maybe. Week and a half. Especially like I have been filming videos. I know you guys kind of like don't know what's going on, but I have been shooting some videos. I'm going to try to get 2 more done today, and I'm going to be releasing videos on a regular basis here, and they're okay. I don't know if you guys have seen the ones I've done already. I think they're okay. I make a lot of effort to make them as short as humanly possible, so they're just very concise, like reference material. But anyway, this is just a difference. They changed they won't contain batch files. They'll have actual like application exes. Oh, that's going to be a minor change to most users. Changes in the Linux builds. Yeah, I guess that's basically it. Yeah. I was expecting more. I guess I don't know. I guess my expectations were kind of wrong. But anyway, this isn't going to be a very long stream. This is where you can actually get this. If you just go, you can see this is Prusa3d.com. If you click up here in the support tab and then go to drivers, firmware, and manuals, they just updated this yesterday. So this is the complete package. I kind of don't like that they bundle everything and it's kind of like a single installer, but it is what it is. Because it would be nice, like I have up-to-date drivers and stuff, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. It'd be nice to not have to download this almost 200 megabyte file. But the slicer installation is in here. So we'll go ahead and install it and check it out. DigiChaos said the hot end one was good. Yeah, I'm glad people like it. Shooting videos is still kind of like an alien process to me. It's kind of weird. And I'm going to have to do a behind the scenes video because some of you guys would surely be entertained by how frustrating of a process it is for me. The power consumption one was the worst so far, and the last one was a little bit better. And it's getting better as time goes on, but oh my god. I shot that I've shot some of these videos, like not even counting takes, just like the whole shoot I've redone 2 or 3, 4 times on some of these. Okay, so here's the install package. We can unselect basically everything except the slicer install. And we'll leave the test objects just for shits and giggles. Sure. And we'll install that. But no, oh man, there were some like single lines of dialogue, something you'd think would be really, really easy, that I did, no joke, like 30 takes of. Because like if you can hear today, there's some days where I just can't talk right. It's like so frustrating. I even scripted some of these, and it's still like I just cannot speak correctly. It does have a new icon. That's kind of sexy. All right, let me size this. It does look a little bit different. I mean, it's essentially the same program still, but so here it is. I think this is 1.3, 1.6. I don't know if that's correct. I think I saw a different version. No, that's what they claim it is. But here it is. New version of Slicer. You see they do have the new Slice Now button. So we'll pull a file in here. I forget where all my files are. Let's grab a sci-fi shipping container. Something random here. This is a cool file. I haven't printed this yet, but I'd like to print one. It's just like a giant shipping container for sci-fi tabletop games. So everything else looks the same for the most part. So there's the regular 200 micron layer height settings that come with the pre-configured stuff. Pre-configured Prusa PLA settings. Everything else basic. And I guess nothing really looks that different. Let's see what the Slice Now does. You can see it working there. And I guess that allows us to have a preview. So here we are. And here's the sliders they were talking about. Because you can do this in Simplify already. It lets you look at the file from different angles and stuff. To just check for different... like potential problems with the way the hot end's routed, to make sure like infill isn't going to be doing something weird. Like, because sometimes you can spot problems beforehand. And that does have the new infill pattern, which is kind of cool. But you can see it looks like it's like a three-dimensional triangle kind of shape. Kind of nifty. But like I was saying, sometimes you can see where there just won't, like if you have to bridge a gap and there's not like infill there to support it properly, like you can come in here and change your infill percent. Maybe get like a little better coverage. And that doesn't seem to have changed the infill. Maybe we have to reslice it. Maybe. There we go. Yeah, so I guess if you want to see the preview, you'll have to hit that Slice Now button. I guess that makes sense. They were talking about they turned the background processing off, because before, anytime you change things, it would automatically, the moment you stop adjusting it, it would start processing the changes. And I guess now what they did was just like deferred that until you actually hit the button. So now if you make changes and you want to see them in the preview tab, you'll have to come back here and hit the Slice Now button. But there you go. There's an exceptionally fine infill setting. And what are you guys saying here? Get it off GitHub. I think they actually recommended. Oh, some of you are saying you got better results with the 200 microns opposed to the 150. I thought that at first too. You have to tweak your settings a little bit. Like on the test prints, I thought that too. Like all of the 200 micron prints, I thought looked better. But when you actually, like, if you end up finishing any of your prints, like painting them or anything, they are noticeably smoother at the lower layer heights. Sometimes, like, I got more stringing and stuff at 0.15 than I did at 0.2. But what is that? Xanax said you can turn the background process back on in preferences. Oh, there it is. So yeah, if you like the old functionality, I guess you can go in here and turn it back on. For some prints, for small prints, it is handy just to have things like recalculated immediately. But some of these, like this was a little bit slow. So say we go in here now and change our infill. You can see it adds lag. It does add a bit of lag into the interface until it's actually finished. So it adds another click, which is generally not good in an interface, but I think I do like it with it not automatically doing stuff every time I change something. But no, that's cool. So this isn't new to this edition, but now we have, well, it looks like we have several more. I don't think we had the Hilbert curve and like the octagram spiral and stuff. I don't think we had those infills before. But now we have triangles, which one? The concentric, and a couple of these other ones. So that's kind of cool. The concentric, like I noticed, I had to use this on several, like I was making those little round tokens, and they looked a lot better with the concentric infill. Because like on the bottom layers, instead of having like a circle shape with lines going across it, you have a nice like spiral kind of finish. And it made a really nice piece, like when it was all said and done. Send it to the printer. No, I'm not going to print these. Or I'm not going to print this today. I have some other stuff I have to start as soon as I get off the stream here. I'm still doing testing. I think I have those all in a box. Because I do have the fine tip that I got out of the set of, what did they call that? The fun pack from E3D that had the 6 different tip sizes. And I've still been doing some testing. Any of you guys that are considering getting a finer tip, it makes a monumental amount of difference in like the overall quality and detail level of your prints. I was kind of shocked at the difference it made because I'll grab it here. Our machines come with a point 0.4 and this little set, and I don't know if they're still on sale. They had a 15% off coupon code you can use. But this has another 0.4, which is nice to have a second, like a backup, a 0.35, a 0.3, and then down to a 0.25. And I think this was like $36 with shipping with the coupon code for these 6 tips. And there's also a 0.6 and a 0.8, which are kind of cool. I haven't used those yet. But like I mentioned before, I'm kind of interested to use the 0.8 because it's such a big tip. I'm just curious like how fast you can actually print some coarser prints with that, because that's kind of handy. Like I know some of you guys were yeah, what about the 8mm? Yeah, I'm kind of anxious to try printing some bigger stuff. Like I've had a Mech Warrior project I want to start, like a I don't know if anybody plays the game. It's a Marauder that's about 18 inches tall, and being that I'm going to finish that by hand later, like I'm going to sand it and do like filling and stuff on it. It'd be nice to try to print that in maybe a quarter of the time with a thicker tip like that. But yeah, kind of nifty. But yeah, that's it. I guess I was planning on covering more, but that's pretty much it for the uh, the Prusa edition. I guess there's really no profound differences. It's just like their first official release, because everything else looks exactly the same. But like there we go. We'll take a look at it, because some of you guys are probably wondering what I was talking about with the supports. Let me find a file here. This is one of the first files that I ran into this problem with. So here we have this piece. This is a pipeline. It's a piece of terrain for like wargaming, and use like PVC pipe to put here. And this is like your end piece to go in the ground. But like, say you want some supports on this piece right here, because like it kind of does need some support to print like nice and clean. So you come in here in your support material, and you want to generate supports, right? And we'll just leave it on defaults. I think it'll... Oh, when we have to slice it. That's right. Sorry, my voice is a little hoarse. I was sick the last few days. I'm finally like on the other side of things, but my voice is still kind of terrible. There we go. And you kind of see the problem you have. Like if we were in Simplify right now, like I could just remove all of this stuff because I don't need it. All it really does, this is a problem I had, was it kind of hurts the detail on some of these pieces because they don't need support, and now you have like these little interface spots where you have to break the supports off, and a lot of times they come off cleanly, but on something like this, like the detail's fairly fine. So you actually notice the little like nubs and stuff that are left. And there's just really no way around it, unfortunately, that I'm aware of at this point. We can set... Well, plus the support material still does some weird stuff. Like you can see that it still kind of does some weird stuff in Slicer. And you can't really... it's really just hard to change settings in a way that make differences that matter. Like we can set this to to automatic, and then like say we only want supports on the first 100 layers, we can do stuff like that, which helps a little bit. But we still can't get rid of any of that support material on the places that we don't like. All the vertical shell thickness, yeah, we'll double check that here. We'll touch on that since that was one of the new features they addressed. See, I normally don't slice things when I'm streaming, but yeah, it's actually kind of slow now. it probably, like, we set it to automatic, so it probably generated all kinds of support material that we didn't need. Let me grab my water. This was tea about an hour ago, but now it's just like melted ice. I guess I haven't been talking much. Talking now, like, my voice is starting to fail on me. Yeah, holy crap, this is slow. I've gotten spoiled using Simplify because it is significantly better than Slicer. I guess I shouldn't really be trying to, like, push Simplify in this video, but any of you guys on the fence, man, if you have the money to spare, it's a entirely different universe once you make the move, because you just have control over everything. It's just like when I was doing the experiments with the different nozzle diameter. It's so much easier in Simplify. Like, your basic settings are all the same as in Slicer, but you just have so much more control over stuff. It just makes it really an enjoyable experience as opposed to, like, a frustrating experience. Man, this thing's struggling today. I know this is from that company that I've mentioned in other videos, the printable scenery, and their files are very detailed. I think they have a little more. They have more pieces than they really need to for the kind of quality that our printers are capable of. But yeah, as soon as this finishes, we'll go check that setting there, Xanax. Yeah, like Xanax mentioned, Simplify, like, being that it does give you so many options, it can take you a while to get things dialed in. Like he mentioned, retraction settings. Don't be surprised if Slicer crashes now. I'm starting to wonder that. I wouldn't say that I've had problems with that, but I have had it crash a few times over the last few months that I've used it. And I haven't actually had Simplify crash on me yet. Which any program will crash eventually. Especially if you're doing like this. I have like 6 programs running while I'm streaming and stuff. So, but I have had this program crash quite a few times. Are we alive? There we are. We still don't have the support material in there though. Interesting. No, but getting clean surfaces. Yeah. Like I said, I had a hell of a time printing one of the pieces for the heat bed cover in Slicer. I just could not get the supports to, like, you run it there. It's like fighting this battle where you want the support material to touch enough to properly support the layers above it, but you don't want it to touch too much because then it just becomes kind of like a permanent part of your print. Yeah, I mean, this is what I was talking about. Like, sometimes the supports in a Slicer just kind of do things you wouldn't expect. And then if you look in here carefully, it's not really even doing a great job of supporting the stuff that we wanted supported. Like, there's quite a gap there. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if we would print this file, which I wouldn't print this file. But I mean, like, look at those. Look, like, how they're stood off from the print. Like, it's just kind of weird what support material does in Slicer sometimes. It's very odd. Very, very odd. But let's get rid of that crap. And then we'll reslice it quick. And hope it doesn't crash. It should be faster this time. But it is funny, there are a few settings in Slicer. Did it reslice? I think it did. This has a few settings that Simplify doesn't. And one of them, I think, is in advanced. Maybe it's not. Where is it here? I think it's... Oh, I think this is the one setting we mentioned. They must have tweaked the way this works exactly. This is the one we mentioned before, where like if you have a sloping surface, sometimes the exterior perimeters won't be deep enough to actually like keep there from being gaps on the exteriors, and apparently they fixed that. But like I was saying, detect thin walls. This is actually a setting that Simplify does kind of have an analog for, but it doesn't work the same as Slicers does. And I will actually pull the file in that I noticed this on. But I was printing those, I'll grab one. Printing these little test blocks for doing filament reviews, and they have a series of 6 progressively thinner fins on this one part. I know you can't see it, but take my word for it. 6 progressively thinner fins, and like here in Slicer, if you leave that setting off, I have no idea where I have those files, unfortunately. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh, here they are. I believe this is it. Yeah, so there you guys can see. There's 6 progressively thinner fins here. Right there. And I'll go ahead and show you. If we preview this, I guess we have to slice it. If we preview this, okay, it's actually going to print all 6 of them. But you can see it's going to print all 6 of those little thin fins. If we go in here and change that setting and turn it off, it'll just ignore them. And that's the default behavior in Simplify as well. You can see the slicer just detects that this is actually thinner than I'm capable of printing with the nozzle settings that you've used. So we're just going to ignore them, and it just won't print them. And it was tougher in Simplify to get them to go ahead and print those than it was in Slicer. Because in here, you see, we just like hit that single checkbox, reslice it, and it'll go ahead and print them. Now, it's not going to print them as thin. Like you can see, it shows them being thinner, but it's not actually going to be noticeably thinner. It'll just go to kind of like the minimum thickness that your nozzle's capable of and put lines there anyway. And I got it to do it in Simplify, but it was quite a bit tougher. It was a little more kind of, you had to take the scenic route in settings to actually get it to do what I wanted it to do. Can I show how I did it in Simplify? I can try. I don't know if I recall exactly. This is what I've printed so many of these things. These are the little tokens, and if you see, these are with the 0.25 nozzle. And like I said, it's just an entirely different world printing at that scale. But you can see these pieces, they do work out okay. I keep forgetting I have the screen offset. They do work out okay. You can see these, there's a raised part here that interlocks with the underneath, and they stack and nest kind of nicely for the game that I'm using these for. But I guess I can also show you the external infill if you set it to concentric. You saw in these, it actually just uses lines across the bottom. And if you use concentric, it gives you a much nicer look. Let me get underneath of these. Sorry, it's a little awkward. But you can see when it fills it, it'll have like a nice concentric look. And like on these pieces, especially when you're finished, it looks significantly nicer than having the cross fill pattern. But anyway, let's get out of this. We'll get rid of these. And we'll pull the same file in here, and I'll see if I can remember what I had to do exactly. Okay, so now this is just the model preview, so it's going to show them here. And you see how thin they are. They're actually like very thin on the far end. But if we go to the preview, Okay, now this is, you have to keep in mind, let's go change our nozzle settings, because this problem was primarily with the larger tip. So we'll just kind of fudge these settings for right now. And then if we go back to the preview, you see it only wants to do 3 of them. And if anybody's wondering, all these red lines are the non-print travel lines. So anytime the hot end's going to be traveling while it's not printing, it shows these red lines. There, we can turn those off. But I kind of feel dirty showing this stuff in this video that's supposed to be about Slicer, but we're already here, so we'll go ahead and finish. But you see, it'll go ahead and print these, but it just completely ignores that the other 3 exist. And I guess it's not bad talking about, because in Slicer, like, say we want to do those, even though they're not going to be the actual thickness that, like, the file's saying they should be, we can go ahead and click that checkbox. We can go ahead in here into the print settings tab, layers and perimeters, and just hit this box that says detect thin walls. And then when we come out, it'll go ahead and print those at the minimum thickness that your tip is capable of. So the last 3 will all be the same thickness, but they'll at least be there. And for a lot of prints, that's like really important. Like these prints, I'd rather them be there than not be there, even if they're not, you know, exactly as they should be. But if we go back to simplify here, I think I'll muck around here. I forget exactly what I had to do. I don't think there was just like a setting. I cannot remember. I don't think it was that. Nope, it wasn't that. I don't know. I'll ask, do any of you guys in chat remember what I did? Like I said, I did eventually get it to do what I wanted it to do, but it was a lot more convoluted than it was in yeah, I cannot recall. I cannot recall what I had to do to make that happen. But I mean, I think this is, even though we're not answering the question directly, but I think this is a good example of why Slicer will better suit some people than Simplify will. Because if you just need to print something and you don't have a ton of time to sit and fiddle, it is going to be superior for most people. Like if you're not super picky about the results you're getting, because I just wanted these to be very particular, because I wanted to give the filaments I was testing like the best opportunity to shine, kind of like some of the filaments I've done. I don't want to do like a tiny bit of testing and be like, yeah, this filament sucks. Like I wanted to do my best and give them the fairest chance that I possibly can. But yeah, I cannot recall what I did, because it's not in support material, it's not in temperature. I don't think it's in the other tab, and I don't think it's in here. Cannot recall. I know I eventually did it, but I can't recall. I know, like, if we change our nozzle, because I'm actually using the 0.25, if we go ahead and change our nozzle diameter back, it'll print more of them. You see, it actually prints 5 of them now, and then determines that the 6th is too thin. You guys in chat that were asking, we were talking about how when something's under a certain thickness, the default behavior for, I think, both Slicer and Simplify is just to ignore it. And like I just mentioned, with these super thin parts in Slicer, all we have to do is come in here and detect thin walls to the detect thin wall setting and turn that on. And even though the walls are thinner than they're actually going to be printed, it will go ahead and print them anyway, which is a very nice thing to have. Because like I said, sometimes it's better to have something wrong when you print than for it to be ignored entirely. Because like these, it just, I don't know. It just feels wrong not having them all there. But you can see there, it's going to print all 6 in Slicer. And then in Simplify, it's a little bit tougher. There with a thinner nozzle tip, like obviously if we go back here and set our our nozzle to something crazy, which I actually don't have a 0.1 tip. But if we do that, it'll print. Even there, it's warning us, hey, this probably isn't right. But you can see there, it'll print all 6 of them there, but we don't actually have a nozzle that thin. And the nice thing about Slicer is that you can just ignore that that's thinner than your machine's actually capable of printing and go ahead and tell it to print it anyway. And like I said, I found a way to circumvent that in Slicer, but and in Simplify, but I just cannot recall. So we won't waste too much time on it. If I remember, or damn it, I wish I could just like magically recall here, but I'll address that in another video, because I'm going to be doing some videos in the near future about Simplify, because there's been a lot of issues that I've like come across and then solved on my own. And I'm sure some of you guys have run into some of them. It's nothing that Google can't solve, but like I said, I apologize. My throat's been killing me for like the last week or so. Minimum infill, like, I don't think it was this. I did have to adjust this, the minimum infill length. I was having holes in my top layers because there were some like little triangle shapes left after the infill pattern had completed, and it wasn't going back and kind of like squirting a little bit of filament in there. And changing that setting actually fixed that. But you still see where it's just ignoring that sixth little I don't know what you'd call that shape. Oh, there's actually 7 of them, so it's ignoring 2 of them. Huh, yeah. Yeah, it's ignoring number 6 and 7. But anyway, Ryan said, I think it could be extrusion width. It is, like we just did. If you go down and put the extrusion width to something like kind of unrealistically small, it'll acknowledge them then. But there was a way, I don't know if it's in like a different area here. There was a way that I found, because I Googled it, and there was a way to just ignore that, kind of like Slicer can do, but I don't actually recall what I did. But that's pretty much it for today, I guess. We're not going to do any printing, because like I said, I'm going to try to shoot 2 videos today before I have to pick my daughter up. And they'll be up in the next day or 2. Yeah, I'm going to have to quit. I'm losing my voice already. Nilly changed the nozzle size. Yeah, because I was recreating the first time I actually ran into this this problem. Because if you guys have an MK2, the default nozzle size is 0.4. And you can't actually, I mean, you technically can set your extrusion width to thinner than your nozzle size, but you're not going to get very good results, because like lines of extrusion that are beside each other are going to be, it's not going to work out right. Your machine's going to be anticipating it being a different thickness than it actually is in real life, and it's going to be wrong one way or the other. You're either going to have your lines too far apart and they're not going to touch, and you're going to have some weird print results, or they're going to be too close. And if anybody's messed with their extrusion multiplier, like when you set that too high, you get these weird puffy prints, because the lines it's laying down are a lot thicker than the tooling paths are accounting for, and it just ends up being all smushed and kind of weird looking. Have I got good settings for Simplify 3D? I think I do. Oh, I'm sorry. The results I've been getting have been fantastic. And Let me grab one because the things I'm printing are really small. They're about the size of a dime, and even with that, like if I go ahead, I'll show you the files again. Even with these tiny little files, I don't recall where they are. I think it's some of these. Yeah. Even with these, like I said, that's only about the size of a dime. And I've been getting really good results with the finer tip. Because like I said, these are tokens for wargaming, and they're made to like interlock with each other so you can stack them nice and move the stacks around without them falling all over the place. But the settings, I probably printed, I would say, 40 of these, one at a time, doing different tests, like just doing incremental changes to see like what worked best. Because like one of the biggest things I was trying to get was the right fill in the top and bottom layers so they looked presentable. So they looked really nice and were consistent and stuff, and there weren't any gaps in the infill on the top. The concentric on some of these doesn't turn out that great. Like in areas like these, you end up just getting weird patterns in the top layer, and you'll get some tiny little gaps in places like this. And I mean, they are really tiny. It's being picky. But like right here, you could fit like the head of a needle in there, I would guess, if we'd go ahead and print this. And same with the surface of the R. Like it just doesn't turn out like super clean. So for like one like this, I wouldn't put the concentric infill. I just use rectilinear. And you can see it just gives you like a much cleaner appearance overall. But there's so much room for tweaking. Like for these pieces, I think I ended up using, I'll go ahead and, I think I ended up using like 7 perimeters. And when you do that, you can see that the perimeters are hidden under the centerpiece. And this is just the kind of tweaking you can do in like a nice slicer. Because then when these pieces are finished, you have this very consistent perimeter area that follows the shape of the thing you're printing. And then underneath, it's the same way. Like you still are going to have the kind of like, it's not hatched, but like the straight lines as opposed to the concentric. Like I wish, again, this might be something you can do that I'm just not aware of, but for this piece, like ideally, I would have a concentric infill on this bottom and then the regular rectilinear on the top. Like there's almost no limit to the amount of tweaking you could do if they would give you the power to. Because just like this, like if I could do concentric in this without it following the contours of the R, like if it would just do the circular concentric infill, this piece would look great. Yeah, this piece would look great, but is that Macy? Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I know you can use 2 processes, but can you actually use 2 processes on the same piece? Because I actually haven't messed with that. Because it would be nice, like this, if we could just use that process until about there, and then for the rest of these layers, like I said, do like a concentric infill of this circular pattern here, and then go back to rectilinear. I mean, that would get a little complicated, I know, but some of these pieces, because like these are things I'm selling to people, if you spend a little time in the file, like actually tweaking things, I wouldn't have a problem doing that. But I'm still kind of an amateur in Simplify. Look at the Advanced tab. Ooh. Now I'll have to mess with that. This isn't really like the video for this, but I would like to start doing some content on like more advanced like simplify 3D stuff, because having just like a simple little piece like this that you'd really think is like trivial in the grand scheme of things, having the power to do things like that makes a profound difference in the finished product you have. Because like these, there's some finishing work. Like the first ones I was printing, I was actually sanding the bottoms with like 1200 grit sandpaper to kind of just hide all of the infill lines and stuff. And they turn out nice, but if I could accomplish essentially the same thing and get like a nice finished product without having to do any like post-processing, that would be lovely. But no, thanks for pointing that out. After this stream, I'll do some looking when I get some free time and look into that. But like I said, this is what simplified down. This is a Slic3r video. But look at some of the weird things Slic3r does. Like, what the hell is this? What is this? And it does do weird stuff. I mean, you can see that on some of these prints. It does do some weird stuff. Like, it did some weird things with the bridging. You can actually see there. It kind of doesn't actually do a solid line across that first bottom piece. Oh, I lost it. There it is. It does some weird things. It does some weird things sometimes. That's why, like, if you guys aren't in the habit of coming and looking at your preview before you you export your G-code, it is a good idea to stop in here and see what's going on first. Because, like, some of these, like this print, these things actually look nicer if you do a lot more perimeters. Vertical shells. Yeah, like if you if you up the perimeters in here, the top of this piece ends up looking a lot better. And you don't really have to wait until you print this to see that. Like, you can come to this preview and be like, you know, oh, it actually looks nicer if it follows this contour, and then switches to like the rectilinear, or the you know what I'm saying, that particular infill. But it's always a good idea to stop in here and look, because you can spot some of these weird things. Like this file, if we would print this right, it would screw these overhangs up. If we would print this right now. So, yeah, you should come in here. I forget where it is. I think it's that setting. And just tweak things here instead of, yeah, see, if we turn that detect bridging perimeters off, it actually draws like nice solid lines of extrusion across these bridges, and it makes them significantly better in the final prints. I think this is one of the ones that I had printed before I did that. And it's, if you look at the, I know you guys can't see it in detail, but when you look at this bridging, it's got these weird sags in it, and I couldn't figure out why, because the MK2 performs really well on bridging and with most PLAs. And then I came in and looked at my file, and it was because my file wasn't sliced properly. It wasn't anything to do with the printer. Like, it was all in this file. So, like, coming in here, looking at this, and then just like messing with settings and keep like rechecking your preview can make a big difference in the final product you get with some things. But I think that's a good example of that, how much it matters. Oh, God. All right, guys. I think I got to call it a day. I'm losing my voice. Let me catch up on chat here, make sure I'm not missing anything. But, no, thanks for stopping in. I know I've not been streaming. I'm going to stream Thursday. That's why I'm going to try to rest my voice for the next 2 days. Work on some eBay stuff and do some stuff I don't have to talk while I'm doing it, and try to save my voice. And then we'll do a stream Thursday. I'll go ahead and give you an idea of what we're doing. We'll go ahead and switch this off. Okay, here we are. Let me get a drink again. Oh, my voice went downhill quick. But, yeah. Sorry, just reading chat here. I got this week's maker box, or this month's maker box, and you can kind of see like they stepped up their game a little bit. Like we have a kind of cool like fully branded box and stuff. Inside it's essentially the same. I see they're taking kind of a cue from Prusa. I got a little bag of Haribo in here. Copycats. But I'll give you a little preview of what we have, because there are some really cool filaments in here today. Or this month. This is the aromatic cinnamon PLA from Protopasta. I know that won't be much for you guys to experience, but that'll probably be pretty cool for me to print with. And it's kind of weird. Like these are kind of like a novelty thing, because it doesn't smell like anything right now. And I guess it'll smell like cinnamon while it's printing, but I don't think it really smells like anything once it's printed. So this is kind of cool. This is from Essentium. It's a PTCG. And it supposedly has high impact strength, and apparently it has a hot end temperature range from 210 to 260, and apparently depending on what temperature you use, you can either get like a super glossy finish or like a matte finish. So, and this is like this is the most transparent filament I've ever seen. Like this looks like glass. This is totally clear. I know you're just like seeing the shine on it, but that is completely transparent. This stuff's cool. I'm going to print some stuff with my daughter, or for my daughter with this. This is the color changing PLA from filaments.ca, a Canadian company. And it's like a rich like royal blue color now, but then apparently whenever you touch it, it'll change to white, to like kind of like a natural white. So that's kind of cool. And that looks like pretty standard PLA settings. Looks like the bed temperature is a little hotter than normal, but for the most part, looks fairly normal. And then I was so happy that they sent this. This is some NGen Flex. And this prints really hot. Like this is 240 to 260. I guess that's not super hot, but yeah, Color Fab NGen. I was really pumped to get this. I'm really excited to print some stuff, because I wanted to print, if any of you guys have seen the OpenRC files on Thingiverse, or there's a couple other places they are too. Coupon for Build Tech. There's an OpenRC STL set where you can like basically print your own remote control car chassis. And I always wanted to do everything. And apparently with NGen and some other flexible materials, you can actually print the tires themselves, which is like a super cool concept to me. But that's so funny they have Haribo in there. That was totally like Prusa's thing. I mean, I'm not complaining about free candy, but no, I'm really excited to print with some of these. Last month's were okay. I mean, they were cool, some cool filaments, but I'm excited to print with every one of these, and that's what we're gonna do Thursday. The whole stream Thursday is gonna be doing some test prints and checking everything out. So, oh, it looks like they started a referral program. So, yeah, that's cool. I think I can easily get some referrals here, because I liked, this is only my second maker box, and I liked the first one, but you can tell they kind of stepped up this month. Like I said, they have like some actual like branded packaging and stuff, like a lot of the other subscription boxes are doing, and the filaments are just a little bit cooler this time, because I think the NGen is fairly expensive. But yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing Thursday. Hopefully. That's why I need to quit running my gums here and get off and try to record a video quick. Hopefully I'll have a video up tomorrow. That's going to be about, it's called seasoning, like using oil to season your hot end nozzle to kind of reduce the chances of jams and stuff, particularly with like ABS and stuff, but which I actually haven't printed with yet. But even with PLA, like if you're ever manually extruding or something, and you can see when your filament's like pulling to one side or the other, that's friction in the tip, And if you use, like I'm going to use olive oil, but if you use oil to season your tips, it just kind of like impregnates the outer layers of metal with a little bit of oil, and it dramatically reduces the friction that the filament has on the tip as it's extruding. So it leads to just more consistent extrusion and reduces the chances of jams and stuff with some materials. And I would imagine with things like the engine and stuff, it would probably help too, but that's what that's going to be about. And there's going to be another related video a couple days after that, but I'm going to try to shoot that today and have it up tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, thanks. TrueTech says the shop looks good now. Yeah, if nobody noticed, I did some painting. We painted the walls gray and did some of the trim and stuff orange. And I got my ghetto basement window covered up here with a piece of orange foam, seasoning your tips. Yeah, it's a process. The analogy people generally make is like if you buy a cast iron cookware, the first thing you want to do, I mean, quality cookware is already seasoned, but the first thing you want to do is like bring it up to temperature and coat it with oil. And it just kind of like impregnates the outer layers of the metal with oil, so things don't stick to it as easily as it would if you didn't do that. And surprisingly enough, it's like the other video I do is going to be on using an oiler. Like if you saw me print those in some of the earlier videos I did, a 2-piece oiler. I'll grab one quick while we're talking. I know I have one here somewhere. I thought I did. I think there's some of the other ones I printed in here. Oh, here's one. This one's actually broken, but this is a file on Thingiverse, and it's a little 2-piece. It prints in a single piece, but it's hinged, and it has holes for your filament to go through, and then you just put like some sponge material in there and put a tiny little bit of oil on it, and then you put it on your machine. Like I put it right above the extruder, and it just clamps on the filament, and the filament passes through it as it goes to the tip. And I had initially only been using it as a dust filter because it'll just, you can imagine the filament going through, it'll wipe the dust off and keep the dust from reaching the actual like extrusion area. And they're really oilers is what they ultimately are. And you just put a couple drops of oil in here, which don't take this as like instructional. That's what the actual video will be about. But then it'll just put a super, super thin coat of oil on your filament as it goes into the extruder, and it'll help keep your tip seasoned, and it'll just like help the material extrude more consistently. And I've only done a little bit of testing, but even I have noticed like a difference in the consistency of the PLAs I've been printing with coming out of the tip. There's just less like grittiness and kind of like that tugging from side to side, and it just comes out in a perfectly straight line, and it just makes your extrusion more consistent. But that's what the other video is going to be about. I know they're kind of related, but we'll do 2 little videos. But yeah, it's really simple. It just surprises me that the PLA, like I had worried about layer adhesion because you are going to have a little bit of oil on there. But if you keep the amount to like an absolute minimum, I haven't had any issues with strength or anything. Like Macy said, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Maciej. I'm terrible with names. But the biggest benefit is when you're using small nozzles. Like I have that 0.25 millimeter nozzle on there, and I was really noticing like they weren't failed prints or anything, and they weren't unacceptable. It's just like the extruding wasn't as consistent as it could have been through that really, really fine nozzle tip. And using an oiler really helped. It really did, especially with some of the different PLAs, because not all PLAs are the same. But it really did help. So if you're having any issues, like the first time I saw anyone doing it was a guy that was actually having jam problems. He was getting an hour or so into a print, and he kept consistently getting jams at certain time periods, and he used an oiler, and it actually like solved his problems. So yeah, that's what that's going to be about. Are you excited for the new 0.15 nozzle from E3D? I am incredibly excited about it, but it's so expensive. Like, I know some of you guys are balling apparently because 19 bucks isn't a lot of money to you, but like I mentioned earlier, I think with the discount code they had, I got these 6 tips for I think 35 or 36 bucks shipped, and the 0.15 millimeter tip itself is $19. It's $18.99. So I'd love to get one, but with the holidays and stuff coming, like I'm strapped for cash. So I'd like to get one like those pieces I showed you. I would ideally like to be printing those at 0.115, but considering the cost, like it was just so much more economical for me to get this like variety pack than it was to spend half that same amount of money and get a single tip as opposed to 6. So yeah, I am excited for it, but I'm not going to have one for a little while, so we'll have to wait for any tests on that. There was already several people that mentioned the finer tips are slower because the overall speed of your machine isn't going to be any higher, and you're going to be extruding less material out of that smaller tip. But for me, like those pieces that I was doing at that fine detail level, they're really small. So if I'm remembering correctly, one of those tokens, if you can kind of visualize, it's about the size of a nickel and about 3 times the thickness of a nickel. They were only taking about 7 minutes a piece to print, so that's actually not too bad. It's not too bad because you're not going to be printing like huge things. Like I wouldn't be printing the Dragon back here at 100 micron layer height with a 0.15 tip or anything crazy. But for small jobs, they're fantastic. They're fantastic. Like I was super curious about like the actual difference in detail level I could expect, and sorry. Again, that's one of the videos I have coming. Is I'd like to do the same relatively small print with all these different nozzle sizes, so you can have an idea of like the detail level to expect. I mean, if you're good with measurements, you'll know exactly what to expect, but I was kind of surprised at how fine these machines are capable of printing at. But one of these days, I'll have a 0.15 nozzle and we'll do some tests with it. But today is not that day. But yeah, just the difference from going from 0.4 to 0.25 was pretty phenomenal. Because those little pieces weren't... I was not happy with them at 0.4, and I am happy with them at 0.5. The top layers, like everything else was fine, but the top layers just weren't filling that nicely. It's just too small to expect that kind of detail out of a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. So if anybody's on the fence about that, go ahead and buy some. And I really recommend these little, I think they're called the Fun Pack. And you can see, I know it's not zoomed in or anything, but you can see it comes on this nice little like laser cut piece of wood that holds them in place, and it comes with a little wrench I have back there. It's the, if you watch the nozzle video I did, it's actually the little wrench I used in that video. But it's a nice little kit for, I think, $40 normally, and then they had 15% off on their site. So definitely worth the money if you're looking to experiment. But what kind of oil am I going to use? I'm just using EVOO, extra virgin olive oil. My wife watched Rachel Ray for years, so it's EVOO to me. But yeah. Yeah, olive oil. Basically any cooking oil. That's why it's kind of weird to me to be putting that in my machine, but basically anything you can cook with. Like I've seen people use peanut oil, canola oil, coconut oil, basically anything like that. As long as you don't put too much in, it will not harm your prints or cause any problems or anything. But all right, guys, like I said, I don't want to drag this out. Anybody that's a regular here knows how I am. I'll talk forever. So I could easily sit here for another 3 hours and just chat. But we'll do some of that Thursday. Thursday will kind of be a long stream because we're going to do some multiple prints with multiple filaments. And we'll probably do some different nozzle sizes too. So we'll do that Thursday if you guys can hold out. We'll be back Thursday. But that's all for today. I'm going to try to get some other stuff done here. And thanks everybody for stopping by. As always, I love hanging out with you guys. It's always fun for me. This was definitely the bright part of this day. I've been doing eBay crap since about 6 o'clock this morning, so it's nice to take a break and do something a little more enjoyable. But yeah, check out the new version of Slicer if you're a Slicer user. I mean, even if you're not, it's handy to have. Like I said, it has some minor advantages over Simplify in certain circumstances, especially if you're just looking to throw something in a slicer, slice it really quick, and go about your day, and you're not too worried about the results and stuff. It's nice to have, and it's free, so you can't complain. Plus, it's got a sexy new icon. But yeah, check it out. Show Joe Prusa some love, because they are working hard to provide us with some decent software to use. So that's definitely appreciated. But thanks, guys. If you're not a regular, consider subscribing. If you can see, I do fairly regular content, like at least one stream a week and a video a week. Usually it's been more than that, but at least that. So if you're interested in seeing more, go ahead and sub. Check it out. And anybody that's here now, keep an eye on the counter, because we're gonna have a special kind of stream and stuff when we hit 1,000 subs. I've got a bunch of stuff to give away, like Joe was saying. I've got a big old bag of IGUS bushings to give away, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So yeah, check it out. Check the Hangout. Yeah, I'll check the Hangout, guys. I'm sorry. I know I've been like absent. I've been kind of sick and busy, and a little bit of free time I've had. I've like been doing some online gaming, because I'm in withdrawal. I haven't played much lately, so I've been playing some MechWarrior Online and stuff. But yeah, I'll make sure to pop in and check what's going on. So anyway, thanks guys. We'll see you Thursday.